Hello, my darlings, and welcome to Radio Wasteland, the best of paranormal radio. I'm your host, Chauncey Howard, and this is my co-host, Kara Kittrick.
Hello.
Kara, you got any news for us this evening?
I certainly do. Mysterious tracks in the snow spotted last week in Medical Lake, Washington, have been attributed to Bigfoot by at least one resident, local news reports. The tracks measure 23 inches across with a 35-inch stride. Medical Lake resident Steve Meacham, who uploaded photos of the tracks to Facebook, says he's seen similar tracks growing up in Northern California. Skeptics have blamed the tracks not on mysterious primeval hominids, but on snowshoers. Or maybe moose. In the category of a public figure has been replaced with a body double, internet conspiracy theorists are now convinced that Trump has been appearing with a Melania Trump look-alike after photos surfaced of President Trump with the First Lady in Palm Beach, Florida, and later in Alabama. As evidence, these theorists cite her looking kind of different than usual in a couple of shots. I don't know. This one seems pretty out there, but it hasn't stopped the hashtag fake Melania from trending on Twitter. Hopefully, most of these tweets are just an elaborate joke. Singular Fortean, a paranormal site that has been tracking eyewitness reports of Mothman in Chicago, among other phenomenon. A site which I personally have been following occasionally for the last 2 years, has received reports from an eyewitness who claimed he saw, quote, a shadowy figure, shape-shifting, in 1993, near the location of the present-day Mothman sightings. I'm going to read the whole quote because it's fantastic. It reads, the following sounds crazy, but I promise it happened exactly as described. My wonder is if anyone has ever reported something similar. Years ago, a friend, myself, and my collie were sitting in my driveway around 11 p.m. just BSing on a summer night. Suddenly, my dog began to go crazy and begged to go inside. Then, across the street, there was a quick flash of bright light, and a shadowy man stepped out of the light. The man turned to look at us, and as he/it did, it went down on all fours and went from a shadowy man to a big, black, shadowy, cat-like creature. There was another flash of light, and it was gone. During the event, neither of us spoke, but afterwards I looked at him and said, do you want to go inside? He said yes, and so we did. Inside, we took turns describing this event to each other, and both of us saw the exact same thing. Years later, I ran into this friend again, and he still remembers every detail exactly the same. It was clear as day, and I remember it like it was yesterday. I know we saw something. I'm wondering if anyone knows what it was. Credible? You decide. Personally, I have decided that I believe this account wholeheartedly and without any reservation whatsoever. Finally, no UFOs were spotted this week, proving yet again that the Illuminati is absolutely ruthless in its elimination of witnesses. Remember, if you see something, say nothing, and lock your doors. Back to you, Chauncey.
Good advice, Kara. Good advice. You know, having no UFO sightings,
that's honestly kind of unusual.
That's terrifying in itself, in this day and age.
What are they doing?
Yeah. Have they given up on us? Because a lot of people are coming from the angle that, the UFOs are good guys.
Right, they're trying to, uplift us or whatever.
Maybe they finally said this is a lost cause.
Right.
I got to say, the shadowy figure morphing thing, Mothman always makes me think of a couple of things. And
sure.
One of the things is, they're always movies, the two things that it makes me think of. One is Phantoms. You ever seen that Dean Koontz movie?
Who do you think they're dealing with here?
I don't know.
I haven't seen Phantoms. I haven't seen any of these movies.
For somebody who doesn't leave the house very often, you sure don't see a lot of movies.
I mostly just sit in a room with blank white walls and just stare into the middle distance until I need to come to this radio station.
I don't believe you. I think you're like that show Jared and I were watching last night. What is that? The Guild. The Guild. I think you're the Guild.
I don't know what the Guild is.
You haven't seen the Guild? It's like about a bunch of World of Warcraft players who have to get together in real life, and it's very, very awkward.
MMOs still involve interacting.
That's what she said in the
online.
show. That's what she said. She's just I'm talking to him online, and I can hear him. It's good enough for blind people. Yes.
That's why I'm saying I don't do it. It's still interacting.
I see. That's too much for you.
Yeah, I'm too social for that kind of thing.
Okay, well, in Phantoms, it's like a morphy, shifty thing. But the other thing, and I'm guessing you haven't seen it, is a movie called Mimic.
Yeah, no.
Okay, Mimic is like about these...
Mimics?
About insects that have basically grown to the size of humans and have evolved that when their wings are pulled in, they kind of look like a human, maybe in an overcoat standing there.
Oh, that's awesome.
But then when their wings open up, it's a giant cockroach that's going to eat your brain.
That's not that awesome, actually.
Well, I mean,
horrifying.
It is. But the first one was directed by Guillermo del Toro.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That sounds like him. It does.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, not the eating your brains thing. Well, kind of.
Well, I'm embellishing with the brain part. They just want to eat you.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't know. Might be the brain. Maybe they start there. Maybe that's dessert.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, unless you're doing a handstand, seems like they would.
Yeah. And these Trump lookalikes, I mean, the Melania lookalikes, these lookalikes in general, I find to be a little bit weird. But I have to say that Melania is a woman who has based her career around looking good.
Sure.
And she's very fashionable, and I'm not trying to put anything on her, but it's possible maybe she's a little vain. And it's possible, just possible, maybe she had a little work done.
I mean, maybe.
Yeah.
But a few weeks ago, people were saying Ruth Bader Ginsburg had been, like a month ago, Ruth Bader Ginsburg had been replaced by a lookalike.
Well, is Ruth Bader looking exceptionally hot here lately?
I don't think she had any work done. Well, okay, she did, but it was like on her lungs or whatever it was. That was, it was on her guts.
Yeah, but to me it is there is this sort of tide of these sort of conspiracy followers of Trump that seem to be sort of starting to weasel their way into him not being the good guy that they've been thinking he was. So I'm interested to see what's going on there because, you're starting to see a slight shift in that. I listen to a lot of conservative talk radio, and you really are starting to see a bit of a shift in that.
Yeah, I don't know. I think his approval rating is still hovering around.
It's good.
Where it's been.
Yeah, it is good. And if you are not a Trump fan, it's a lot better than you think it is.
Yeah.
Because my wife is just all, he's doing terrible. I'm all, he is not doing terrible, Yeah. He is a competitor for the next.
I mean, it's not like historically good, but I think. Definitely
he's a
better than even chance, definitely.
Yeah, absolutely. And then Bigfoot prints, snowshoers. Yeah, I was thinking maybe Shaquille O'Neal. That was a big foot.
Yeah, I saw that picture, and what jumps out at me more is the distance between the feet. So it's either Bigfoot or a man with snowshoes, like, doing a triple jump.
Oh, really? Oh, that's terrifying. That's terrifying in its own right.
A large person, or, it's a hoax.
Right, yeah. Yeah, of course. Or one of those hipsters on stilts.
Oh, God.
A stilt hipster. Anybody
with snowshoes.
Yeah, totally.
Stilt hipster with snowshoes.
Yeah.
That's much scarier than Bigfoot, I'll be honest.
And also much more likely,
Yeah, you're right.
The truth is much more terrifying.
Lock your doors.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. So tonight we have our guest, Jaimy Mauricio, and we're going to be talking about him, his book, and the X-Filers convention that's happening in Rhode Island. I'm really kind of excited about this because when you talk about these conventions, man, there's so many people there. There's so much stuff going on and stuff that I wish I was a part of, but I don't get to be a part of, but I do get to hear about it tonight. So you're listening to Radio Wasteland. All right, welcome to Radio Wasteland and our guests, Jaimy and Valerie. We're talking about the X-Filers convention in Rhode Island. Jaimy, Valerie, we got you both there with us?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, sounds good. So I guess in the interest of, all the phone calls and stuff that's happening here, I'll direct questions at both of you. So I will start with the X-Filers convention, and let's go with Valerie. Valerie, what's your role in the X-Filers convention?
Well, I'm actually the one who started it. It was I started with the idea, and it's been about a 2-year process. It has its it's been long. So slowly over time, I had this idea. I got the hotel, which is the Crown Plaza in Warwick, Rhode Island, a lovely place. And then I started getting some speakers, presenters like Dana and Greg Newkirk and Gary McKinstry and Thomas Reed. And then it got kind of quiet. And then in December, Jaimy emailed me. And we got together, and since that time, everything has been really coming together. We got 18, almost 20 presenters for the show. And it's going to be the last weekend in April 26th, 27th, and 28th. And we're full. And we actually might have a surprise guest later this week that we're going to make an announcement with. We're hoping anyway. So it was my brainchild, and it's because I've been involved, or I've been interested, I should say, in paranormal since I was a little girl, and I've been a fan of the X-Files TV program for 25 years. So, and I wanted a place where we could get together and talk about the themes of the show and network and meet people in the different fields of cryptozoology and UFOs and the paranormal. A place where people can meet and share ideas and to learn and to educate each other. And so that's where it started about 2 years ago.
So did it start out as kind of a fan convention initially, and it sort of grew into a paranormal convention, or was paranormal always a part of the plan?
Well, it is fan-led. It is it's organized, but it was always going to be about paranormal and so on and so forth. I see. To discuss all things X-Files, because the X-Files really, it had everything. It had the paranormal, it had the psychics, it had the UFO, it had cryptozoology, it had just about all the different types of topics that would come under this umbrella. And they did it well, I believe. Some people like different types of shows. Yeah. And so that's where it came together. Yeah, it was always going to be about paranormal and so forth. But it is fan-led.
Well, you got to have an offshoot convention called the Kolchak the Night Stalkers. Have you ever seen that show?
Oh, I love that show. Well, that was one, again, when I grew up. I mean, that was one of my shows.
Yeah,
I mean,
me too.
There's so many different avenues we could have. I would love to have just a mini convention on that alone. I'm sure I could get people on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because that show was just great, and it covered everything as well.
Thank God someone recognizes your references.
Yeah. Kara here, she's a millennial, so she doesn't catch it.
Yeah, I know. Well, you know,
I'm just happy for you, Chauncey.
It's coming up. We are getting some people. I mean, some of the younger generation are getting to know the X-Files and these different topics, and I think that's exciting. They'll keep it going, but we need more exposure.
Yeah, I agree. So, Jaimy, what's your role with the convention here?
Yeah, thanks for having us on. It's great to be here, first of all. And my role, as Valia mentioned, I'm a researcher of this genre of topics, and so I had Googled, conventions in the area, and this popped up, and so I had Val's email as the organizer, so I emailed her in December and said, hey, do you need some help? And she said, sure. And so I've been helping her in different areas of the convention coordination. Most notably, probably I helped with the website, helped reach out to various contacts that I've come across over years of research who've agreed to present. So we've added a few presenters when I met Val, and then found out about you all by reaching out to actually Stephen Bassett. He provided me a list of contacts and shows, and so I think I sent an email to several shows, and we were happy to hear you contacted us to have us on. So just really helping to promote the show, website, and reaching out to contacts to gain support and spread the word.
Yeah, well, we're happy to do it. Kara and I, we sit here. A regular conversation is that we don't go do enough, even though we love this stuff, and then we hear about people who do it, and we're just, oh man, why don't we do these things? I think maybe being so far in Northern California, I think we just hear too late.
Yeah, we live vicariously through our guests, is what we're saying.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And Jaimy, from my internet stalking of you, I can tell that we are somewhat kindred spirits because we live professional lives by day, but paranormal lives by night.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So, the convention. What can one so with my kids. My kids have been obsessed with cosplay over the years in anime, and so I actually go to the only convention I've ever been to is the SAC Anime Cosplay Convention, and we go like twice a year, and it's huge. It is absolutely huge. And so I'm just kind of wondering what one can expect, because when I go to these things, it's a whole lot of crazy outfits. Like the streets are just packed with people helping their friend in their 8-foot-tall Bowser costume and stuff, which I mean is really cool. But what can we really expect from this convention?
Well, I'm not seeing this as a cosplay anime.
No, of course you're not.
We're not going to discourage people. I'm not going to discourage people from dressing up, of course, but that's not the focus of the convention. So I don't believe it's going to be a big part of the convention. Most people will be wearing, I would think, regular clothing. It's not being advertised as a cosplay convention.
Right. So it's something more down the lines of like the symposiums and stuff that you'll see online, where it's basically guest speakers and they're talking about their areas of expertise and such.
Exactly. I mean, at one point I was thinking of maybe having a Mulder and Scully competition where people would dress up as Scully and Mulder, because some people like to do that.
Yeah.
But they might do that some year. But this year, no. It's just going to be mostly some guest speakers, lectures, talks, panels, documentaries being shown. It's not a cosplay convention.
Right. Well, one thing that we had when I was young, I worked at a movie theater, and for all of our midnight movies, we charged half price to anybody in costume, because we figured it was good advertisement when they were standing on the side of the street out front of the theater.
That's a good idea for the future, maybe.
Yeah, it's the equivalent of, a guy with a sign in a monkey suit, trying to advertise tax advice or something, Okay, so we're not too far from break here, but I'd like to maybe run down, why don't you tell me briefly do you guys have like a headliner for this?
The first two guests that I was able to get are Dana and Greg Newkirk. They're the curators of the Traveling Museum of the Paranormal. They are one of the headliners. Mm-hmm. And the other one is Thomas Reed, who is an experiencer. He and his family, I believe in 1969 in Sheffield, Sheffield, Massachusetts, had an encounter with a UFO, and it has been documented as having been a true event from the state of Massachusetts and from other agencies, that it is a true event. And I believe they're coming up on their 50-year anniversary. So those are the two headliners that I had at the beginning. For me, we have so many wonderful people. We have Paul Eno. I think Jaimy can talk more about Paul and Alexander and the quality and the depth that we have for speakers. Jaimy, you want to talk about a few of them?
Yeah, absolutely. Sure. We've got Paul Eno. He has his own show called Behind the Paranormal for many years now. He's been, researching the paranormal and helping people with paranormal activity for many years now. He worked with Ed and Lorraine Warren, most notably. He's appeared on Coast to Coast with George Norrie, so he's been on Travel Discovery History Channel. So he's been around quite a while, and it's always fascinating to hear him speak. I think he'll give a great talk on some of his experiences, and then also. Other great speakers, you mentioned Alexander Petikoff, who is a filmmaker and researcher. He's done some short films on the cryptozoology field. Speaking of filmmakers, we also have Arian Caju, who did a documentary called The Bridgewater Triangle, which is, I think, on Netflix or maybe Amazon Prime, one of those two. great film about an area in Bridgewater, Massachusetts, a triangle area where there's been noted paranormal and UFO sightings, encrypted, spotted. So as Valerie mentioned, some awesome speakers. I'm really thrilled to be part of this event, help Valerie organize it, because I'm just excited to meet a lot of these folks and hear them speak and present. So it's going to be an awesome time, and it's going to be really great for all the folks that attend.
Well, absolutely awesome, and it sounds like a lot of fun. I need to get myself a plane ticket. We're coming up on break here. You're listening to Jaimy and Valerie. We're talking about the X-Filers United Convention. Come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland and our guests Jaimy and Valerie. We're talking about the X-Filers Convention, but, Jaimy, I wanted to ask you a few things here first. You are an author and also presenting at this, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your book and the history behind your writing in your book, because there's a real interesting story on there, and when I followed up on you on Amazon, also interesting, and I'm sure there's more to tell. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Chauncey, for the question. My book, Beyond 2012, Watch Where You're Going, is the title. It's available on Amazon. And it came to me in 2008, and I say it came to me because I was very much a mainstream type person, really never knew much about the topics mentioned on the genre other than what I've seen in TV shows, and kind of was raised, lower middle class, taught to work hard, get a good job, get a good education, climb the corporate ladder, barbecues and ball games on the weekend. Life's tough, and then you die. And that was kind of my trajectory. I was an engineer.
Sounds like hell, I have to admit.
So I was an engineer, and I actually acquired my MBA and moved from engineering to finance. So I was very math and science type guy, very logical type thinking. And one day I just woke up with this idea, this story, the book in my head, and it's really a science fiction book that has a spirituality component and really begs the reader to really ask themselves, like, what's important in life? What happens after you die? Where are we going? What's the purpose? Why are we here? Kind of sort of, introspective, begs the reader to look inside. And so this whole idea of the book was in my head, and I ignored it for months, for about 3 months. I told my wife about it. I mentioned it to her, and it was just strange, and I ignored it. And then one day in August, something happened. It's in the forward of the book, but basically I was attending church service, and it was a full church, and the priest looked at me, and he was talking about spirituality, and said, for whatever reason, God wants you to write your book about spirituality. I had no idea. I had told no one, and then a voice behind me said these words that said, if you don't write this book, your light will not shine. It was those exact words, and I spun around, and there was a guy sitting in the pew behind me, looked at me and shrugged his shoulders, like he hadn't said a word. And so, something just zapped me that day, and I started writing what was in my head and put it on paper, and from there, I basically went down a rabbit hole. I think I started doing research around some of the topics covered in this story that was in my head that I started putting down in the book, and led me down the rabbit hole to study consciousness and ufology and quantum physics and the paranormal, and really deep dive into all these different near-death experiences. And since 2008, I've been on this journey of researching, and it's led me to have some of my own experiences, which have been fascinating and really opened my world up. And so that's kind of the story there, and you can elaborate more if you like, but that's in a nutshell.
Well, maybe you can give us a rundown on what the book is about without giving anything away, though.
Yeah, certainly. Thanks. It's about the Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland going awry, and it's beyond 2012. So it plays into the fact that back before 2012, everyone thought some people thought the world might end, for that matter. And it's really about this Large Hadron Collider in Switzerland where they're trying to find the Higgs boson. It goes awry, creates a black hole on the Earth, or it's about to breach and create a black hole. And so this is announced to people, and people think the world's about to end. And these 4 lifelong friends, one is a Catholic, one is a Buddhist, one's a Muslim, and one's an atheist. They're lifelong friends. They get together and they discuss, which religion's right. Does religion matter? What's it all about? What's going to happen after the world ends? And one of the main characters in the book basically goes on this journey where he comes out and he survives. The world is saved and we live on, but we've evolved. The main characters evolved to be able to realize we're more connected than we thought. And many other people, like the main character, have had a similar experience, in really, we've evolved to, we're more telepathic as a human civilization, and we're basically more connected, and we are have more empathy, and really realize it's not about ego, it's more about love, and kind of, we've made the leap, and we've survived, and we haven't destroyed the planet, basically, and that's kind of the premise of the book.
It sounds interesting. I hope you don't mind comparisons, because part of it that sort of piqued my interest was seems to maybe have a little childhood Zen component in there.
The childhood Zen, you said?
Yeah, Arthur C. Clarke.
Oh, okay. I've never read that one, but yes, I've heard that it's comparable, but I haven't read it, actually, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, just the part where humanity makes it over the hump and is able to sort of evolve a little bit better because they made over sort of a pinnacle hump. I don't want to give anything away with that book either, if you haven't read it, because it's a great read. But
everyone dies in the end, of course.
No, they don't. Can't give it all away.
Yeah.
But
or am I lying?
Right. So, with your spirituality and your writing, do they come into conflict? Because a lot of the times, because you were saying that you were going to church prior, I assume you still go to church now. Do you find that your spiritual belief and your following of the paranormal come into conflict?
I don't. I would actually consider myself more spiritual than I have been. I was raised Catholic, and what I realized, with religion and spirituality, they're very different. Where religion imposes a lot of ego, a lot of dogma. That's just contradictory to, I think, what the key message is. And so I find myself more spiritual. And so when I attend service, I do attend church. When I attend services, I tend to focus on the spiritual message and less of the when the ego comes across. I kind of dismiss those certain things. But so for me, it's not a contradiction. It actually enhanced my spirituality, and the reason I've gone to ufology too is I think there's a key component there between a lot of experiences have where you read about how they come out much more spiritually attuned or spiritually aware after their experiences, and so that's kind of one aspect I find fascinating about the ufology field. And for me, one of my experiences was that I was not an abductee, but I had experience up in Mount Adams in Washington State, where it was a very spiritual type experience. From there, I just find that when you read spiritual texts, I get much more out of it now, and just interactions in general.
I see. And what about you, Valerie? Was there any experience, or was it just See, for me, it was really a love of the genre that got me here. I loved the genre. I loved horror films and science fiction, and it led me to think, I wonder if there's any fact to any of these. So I never really had an experience. But did you have an experience that really sort of brought you further into this?
Like you, it was. I was interested for many, many, many years in religion and history and self-taught in a lot of ways. The only experience I ever had was I was in my early 30s, and I had what we call a cosmic consciousness. It was during holotropic breath work, and it's very hard to explain if you've never had the experience, but it's where pretty much your soul leaves your body and you have communion with your higher power or universe or whatever. And for me, I just felt like every cell of my being was infinite throughout the universe, and I was breathing with the universe. And I felt safe and loved, and it's an experience you never, ever forget. And there's been books written about it. I haven't had one since. Most people never get it again, but it's something that stays with you for the rest of your life. That's the only experience I've had that you could call kind of like paranormal or out of the ordinary. But it's just I've always been interested in the mainstream topics. I'm very open-minded to it, and so that was about it. I've never been abducted. I want them to be. Please take me away. But no, that's never happened to me. I've never seen Bigfoot. I really want to find the Loch Ness Monster. I want to find Nessie.
That's funny.
I would really be interested in finding Nessie.
That's my wife's favorite as well.
Yeah. If I had to find one, I might go to Scotland one summer and say, I'm going to go look for him, or her, or it.
Right, yeah. In my wife's case, it might be the vacation it would come along with. Is definitely where she's interested. All right, we're coming up on break here. You're listening to Jaimy and Valerie. We're talking about the X-Files United Convention, and you are listening to Radio Wasteland. Come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. We're talking to Jaimy and Valerie, and we're talking about the X-Filers United Convention. As I'm going through your website here during the break, I'd already read about it because I'm already jealous. But I got to say, I'm extra jealous of Tim Weisberg because I want to be a convention MC. What's up with our MC for the convention?
Well, actually, I think he reached out after Jaimy. You reached out to him first, right?
Yeah.
Or did he just reach out to us and ask us to be MC?
Yeah, I reached out to Matt Manise, who works on his show Spooky South Coast, who I met at one of the conventions, and then he connected Tim and I, and so I reached out to Tim, and Tim had us on his show Spooky South Coast, which was awesome. And we got talking, and he said, "Hey, I'd love to be part of this thing." He's over in Massachusetts, which is right over the border for Rhode Island here, and so we got in touch, and I put him in touch with Valerie, and next thing you know, he's going to be our MC for the whole weekend, the Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and his resume is fantastic, and he's MC other events, and we're thrilled to have him, and he has his own stories he could tell, so it's going to be fantastic to have Tim there and have him as MC for the event.
Yeah, totally. Interesting. I'm just quizzing you a bit about on some of these things that are coming up at the event. Greg and Dana Newkirk, of course, we talked about them briefly. The Traveling Museum of the Paranormal Occult. Man, this thing looks absolutely...
Yeah, they're a unique museum. They have this big tent. And what's unique about it is you can actually go up to the items and talk and touch them and look at them and talk to Dana and Greg about the background of them. It's not like do not touch kind of the museum, which I thought was really unique.
Oh,
and they have some favorites. There's a African statue named Billy who has gotten friends and followers. They leave him money and tobacco and little trinkets. He has a whole background story. But and when I went to see them at a convention, I was really drawn to these set of tarot cards that they said that this lady gave them to them because the previous owner, she had got him at like a Yale yard sale or something. The spirit of that lady was still there, and she couldn't use them. So I thought that was very interesting. So they're very approachable, Dana and Newkirk, and they have this whole new thing about Hellier documentary that is taking the paranormal world by the storm, I believe. And they're just wonderful people who are actually on the Queen Mary right now. They're doing a cruise, and they're having some paranormal experiences on the cruise, which is very interesting.
Yeah, that is awesome. I talked about my wife briefly earlier. I'm all into this stuff, but my wife, she can't watch horror films. She just she's like all about like true crime because she finds like the delivery relaxing, so she'll like listen to true crime shows while playing Candy Crush or something. I don't know. She's like
I know, it's very... It's interesting. It's like everyone has their own kind of level or perception. It's like when I went to this convention, it was on the paranormal and UFOs and all that stuff, and it was in, I believe in August in Michigan Paranormal Convention, the big one. And, there was people who did the paranormal investigation and ghost hunting and all that stuff, but they couldn't believe in UFOs, and there was people who were abductees, and they couldn't believe in ghosts, and so everyone has their own like level or comfort level to believe in certain things. Even if you are someone who believes in one of those, again, out of mainstream topics.
Right.
Kind of interesting.
All right, so I'm kind of curious about this convention situation and people who might want to go. what is the staying situation like? So you're having it at a hotel, and the hotel maybe hooked you up with deals for rooms so people can come and stay?
Yeah, we have a block of rooms that are reserved. The rate is $139 a night, which is for the whole Crown Hotel very reasonable. It's in Warwick, Rhode Island. It's 3 minutes from our airport. From the state of Rhode Island only has one airport. It's called TFG Green Airport. It's 3 miles away, so it's literally 5 to 10 minutes away, depending on traffic. It's not like you have to drive another hour away.
Right.
It's right there. It's right in the backyard. The rooms are beautiful. There's plenty of parking. The parking lot is huge, so you have no worry about parking. It's in a nice area. So the rooms that we have, a block of rooms reserved. If they should be sold out, there's our other hotels in the area, so there'll be no problem with that.
I was going to add that the hotel, the Crown Plaza Hotel, is also on the website, x-filersunited.com, so you can go to the website, check out the hotel. There's a link there. It'll bring you right to the hotel website, so you can book your room as well. So that's all on the website as well. Just wanted to let folks know. Yeah,
and so Warwick, Rhode Island, is this you said traffic. I hope this isn't insulting, but I mean, I'm from the other side of the country. I have no idea what to expect in Warwick, Rhode Island, but I was not expecting traffic.
Well, no, I'm just saying that if you come in on Friday afternoon, there's traffic everywhere in the United States on Friday afternoon.
Good point.
That's all.
There's even traffic here already.
I just meant you're not going to be stuck in traffic for like 15 hours. It's just like normal going home 5 to 7. Traffic thing like everyone has in the United States. That's
the way I picture this is sort of somewhat rural and wooded, and that's sort of part of the majesty of it to me, of how awesome it must be. Is that what the area is like?
No, it's more urban than that.
It is. Okay.
We're not like in downtown Providence, but we're not that rural either. We're like in kind of like suburb kind of area kind of thing.
Well, you could be in the woods not too far away, or you could hit the ocean we're really close to the ocean too. So either ocean, or if you wanted to do some hiking or see the woods, they're not too far away.
Man, it sounds like a vacation. I got to talk to my wife about this sort of thing. I love this sort of thing, and I just never get to go do it. I've really appreciated having you guys on the show here. We're right here at the end. Maybe I can give you just one more chance to plug where people can find out more about this.
Well, our website is x-filersunited.com. The pre-registration has been moved up through, I believe, March 20th, so you can still get the discounted tickets for $60 for the whole weekend instead of $75. That will happen later this month. So that is still going on. The tickets are on Eventbrite, and if you go to our website, there's a button that says tickets, and it'll take you right to Eventbrite.
All right. Well, thank you guys.
Anything, Jamie?
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, that was it. I was going to add, if you want to attend just 2 days, we sell 3-day tickets for 2 days, which are $45, and 1 day if you want to just attend 1 day for $30. So tickets for all 3 days are available, and I just want to say thank you for having us on as well, Santi and Carol. It's been a pleasure, and for those who are listening, come on out. We'd love to have you. It's going to be an awesome event.
Sounds great. All right. Thank you. You've been listening to Jaimy and Valerie here talking about X-Filers United Convention. And if you want to visit them online, that's x-filersunited.com. Thanks for checking out Radio Wasteland. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. We've been listening to our guests, Jaimy and Valerie. We've been talking about the X-Filers United Convention. Kara, I assume this is something you would have liked to have gone to?
Oh, yes. I mean, it's a smorgasbord of my favorite things, basically.
Right. I think about my own life and, like, how hard would it be? So my friends John and Sarah, they're going to Hawaii.
Sure.
Next month. They're going there. They're going to camp. It's all cheap. $5 a night. They're going to sleep in a tent on the beach. They got it all going. And the flights, it turns out, was $230 each. And I'm just the issue is not that I can't afford it. The issue is that I am terrible at saving money.
Sure.
I am just absolutely terrible at it.
I say sure, like that's a given. I have no idea whether...
Well, I don't know. You never leave the house. Are you good at saving money?
I'm decent at saving money.
How much money you got
I'm actually
right now?
very good at saving money. I'm just not very good at making money.
I see. So how much money you got right now?
I don't know, like $20,000.
How long did it take you to save that? Like 27 months? I don't know. This is an awkward pause. So
yeah. Well, some of that's like 15 years old. I just don't spend money.
It was just
like Christmas money.
Yeah,
Christmas money. No, literally is that.
Yeah, that's funny. That is funny.
That would account for like a third of it at least.
Right. So I've started like stockpiling money in my desk drawer because my wife and I were really bad at saving it. And then also we have like a credit card debt and we want to pay that all off.
Sure.
I guess I'm getting off topic here. I would really like to go to these things, and I kick myself repeatedly because I don't go to these things. It's like, I would love to go to Rhode Island. I've never been there. I've been to New York for a day. That's the closest I've ever even been to the East Coast. I spent a day in New York. Have you ever been there?
New York? No.
The East Coast?
Sure.
Oh, yeah.
So.
School trip?
No.
That's when most
family.
people go to Washington, D.C. Yeah.
It was right after 9/11, actually. It wasn't a great time to be in Washington, D.C.
Oh, well, yeah. I don't know.
Just very long lines at the security checkpoints to get to anything. It's like, I want a Jamba Juice, not another cavity search,
right.
kind of thing. It's like,
oh my God. Jamba Juice and cavity searches.
Yeah. They don't mix.
But, here in Reading, I was talking to you for a couple of months about wanting to do a convention here in Reading, where we live. And last week, we were talking about Need Camp, West Camp, something, a camp around here that everybody goes to when they're younger. And that's what I wanted to rent out to do this thing at. And I guess a big portion of it burned down.
Oh.
So now I don't know if you can do that there.
Well, did a bunch of kids die or something? Maybe it's haunted.
Well, no. I think we would have heard about
sucks.
it then.
No, you're right. That would have made the
You're
news.
Disappointed that a bunch of kids didn't die there?
Yeah, kind of. I don't know them.
All right.
I mean, they're hypothetical kids. It's not like, oh, it's Timmy if I'm looking into his eyes as he burns.
Right,
that's kind of like,
it's like Schrodinger's kids.
Right.
It's in the box. I don't know if it's alive or dead. It's in the box. What do you want from me?
Exactly. Although, after the third or fourth day, maybe.
Yeah. Your olfactory senses will tell you that the cat might just be dead.
Yeah.
Right.
You can do this at home.
Yes.
Science is fun, kids.
Totally. Can you do it at home? Yes, you can.
You just need a box and a cat.
Right. And the will to proceed,
And a vial of poison.
Yeah.
Right, yeah. Okay, you need a vial of poison and a detector that, triggers the poison if a particle decays.
Right. Well, a string with a brick might do it.
Yeah, a string with a brick. That, I'm sure, demonstrates decoherence just as well.
So hopefully we got the point across that this X-Filers convention sounds great.
Right.
And it sounds like a lot of fun.
This episode brought to you by the X-Filers convention.
And Schrodinger's cat. Yeah. All right. You're listening to Radio Wasteland. Come on back. All right, welcome back to Radio Wasteland. All right, so I got a weird topic.
Excellent.
I don't like to post my opinions on Facebook. I don't like to put them out there, and I don't like to put anything out there that could be taken as them. But I had this thing where I really wanted to post this following question on Facebook, and instead of posting it on Facebook...
You're just going to say it on the radio.
I'm just going to ask you.
On the radio.
Yeah. Well, I'm more comfortable with that. I can basically, make it clear that I really just don't give a crap when I'm on the radio. But when you post something on Facebook, you don't want to be all, P.S. I don't give a crap. And then people are, oh, well, why did you post it? And you're all, because I'm a sarcastic jerk. That's what I do.
I love the show because you can hear us censor ourselves in real time.
Yeah.
You can hear the pauses while we're just kind of like chewing on our words.
Right.
Trying to make them palatable.
Well, I have to not cuss.
Right. No, I know. Me too.
So here's the question that I wanted to do online. I wanted maybe it to be a gamble, closest without going over. I want to know, who do we think is going to end up getting more time? Jussie Smollett or Paul Manafort?
Well, I'm guessing Jussie Smollett, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah, well, I don't think he should, but I'm sure there's like an answer to that that's reasonable.
Yeah,
and I'm just like totally guessing.
It's a good question though, isn't it?
It is a good question.
Because let's lay him out there. Here's what Smollett did.
Right.
On a legal level. Now, on a social level, he did a lot. See, This is the interesting thing. Paul Manafort, on a social level, really didn't do all that much. Like, he didn't, do anything that... Frankly, the things that he's getting accused of and put down for, I know that they're illegal, but I don't have a huge understanding of the tax codes and stuff like that.
That is fair, yeah.
What Jussie Smollett did, I totally get, and I can easily understand that's what he did. I get it.
Right.
But on a legal level, what Smollett did was basically cause the cops to spend some money that they shouldn't have had to spend.
Okay, yeah, that's a way to think about it.
I mean, misusing
that
of the
is
cops.
the reason why it was illegal. Time and money. Yeah.
Misusing of the cops. I forget what the name of it is.
Right.
What happens when you get in the way of justice?
Obstruction.
That's what he got. He got 16 counts of obstruction of justice. Every time he reached out to them and contacted them, they hit him with a count. And so that's what he got. On a legal level for Paul Manafort, he stole millions upon millions of dollars from basically the American people.
Right.
Yeah. And so it's interesting to see what is going to happen here and who's going to get more, because easily the people on the left can say that we live in a culture where Smollett's going to be hit harder because of his ethnicity, his sexuality, the current climate of the government.
Right.
But the other side can say that too, that Manafort's going to get hit harder because of his ethnicity, his sexuality, and the current climate of the government, Honestly, so it's like, who's the bad guy and who's going to get hit harder?
Honestly, I think comparing those two instances, I don't think race or whatever is actually going to play that big of a role here so much as class.
I don't think it is either. I think that the only place that race
people are definitely talking
or
about
gender or sexuality is going to play a role is in the conversation.
Right.
But I think in the actual sentencing, I don't think it's
there's a quote I love from someone who I forget, and it's something like, I'm going to butcher it, but in the law, in its magnificent equanimity, I think is the word, forbids both rich and poor alike from stealing bread and sleeping under bridges. What it's saying basically is the law is very kind to rich people.
Right. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
And so...
Look at OJ.
Well, yeah. And so, I mean, both of these guys, they're rich and famous, but what Manafort did was basically financial crimes that a lot of rich people do. But he got caught because he was dumb enough to do it in a presidential campaign. Right. And so...
But I feel that Jussie Smollett has lived an otherwise blameless life.
Yeah, I actually had no idea who he was before this whole debacle, so...
You know why? Because his show sucks.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that would explain.
See, I don't have a lot of opinions about a lot of things, and it's like, I'll keep a lot
Why
of
don't you post that opinion on Facebook?
I am comfortable. That's what I was about to say. I am comfortable with saying that, that show sucks.
Yeah, it does.
It does. I don't know. There's no laser beams in there. There's no dragons. There's
Why would anyone even make a show like that?
Without laser beams?
Yeah, okay, The ridiculous. Wire, but...
Forget The Wire.
Yeah.
Like Idris Elba is enough to make up for laser beams. I mean, he's cool and everything, but, frankly, I got to say, The Dark Tower was better than The Wire because it had laser beams and stuff.
Did you just say the Dark Tower, like the movie, was better than The Wire?
Oh, way better.
Okay, now I am judging you for your opinions. Well, like much more if you had said something like Hitler was right.
There's no multiple universes in The Wire.
There's nuance. There's social commentary. There's powerful characterization.
Well, look who's all grown up now. How much money did you have in the bank, did you say?
It's not important.
All right. So, yeah, that's my question that I thought was interesting. I thought it'd be fun to if we could do some sort of like a gamble with like a closest without going over could win a T-shirt or something. But then I decided that I would just talk to you about it on the radio because
that's
I don't want to throw my pearls to the swine, you know. I'm serious.
Isn't that what this show is?
No, that's what Facebook is.
Well, yeah, that's definitely true.
Facebook is totally the worst.
Facebook is the worst.
Yeah, it is the worst. It's just full of like people I went to high school with that I never want to see again. No offense to the people that I do want to see again, but those that the ones that I do want to see again, they know who they are.
Full offense.
The problem is the ones that I never want to see again, they don't know who they are.
Yeah,
and
you could
they're
send
all
them
on there.
An obscene message and unfriend them. That's what I do.
No, you don't.
Yeah, no, I don't.
You're still friends with that dude who's coming on to you. Aren't you?
Actually, that's true. I never.
You're still friends with him. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I didn't want it to be awkward. I didn't want him to keep talking to me.
Yeah. Now you have an ongoing story, and so when he reaches out and tries to change your mind years from now, we can follow it up and make a two-parter. All right, you're listening to Radio Wasteland. Stick around and find out what we got going on next week. All right, Kara, next week on Radio Wasteland, we got our old friend William Pullen coming on.
Oh, fantastic.
So that should be a fun hangout. William's going to talk with us about areas with the most UFO sightings and why.
Interesting.
It is interesting.
Do we know offhand what these are? I don't, but I assume that one topic will be like nuclear power plants. Because that seems to be... that's and nuclear silos.
Yeah, nuclear in general seems to be... but the problem I've always had with that one is that's also a place where, of course, you're going to see a lot of military activity. Mm-hmm. You know, you're going to see a lot of lights in the sky. You're going to see men in black. You're going to see all the stuff that you would expect to see the government use to protect a missile silo.
Well, I expect that's going to be the case for pretty much everything he tells us. Is it's going to be places where you're going to see a lot of military planes, and so that's going to bump up the sightings a little bit, even if there are genuine sightings in there. Yeah,
southwestern desert seems to be a big place of sightings.
Right.
And
full of military bases.
Right, but now South America seems to be a big sighting area.
That is true.
And I'm curious why they don't have a lot of at least advanced military activity going on down there.
Yeah, but we've been ramping up military activity in South America.
Yeah, I guess so. And then
Venezuela.
The USOs, I find those real interesting, and they'll probably be unidentified submerged objects.
No, that's interesting. I've never even heard about that.
There's quite a few places where they suspect that there are underwater bases because there's a lot of submerged activity going on there and crafts leaving and going underwater, they're saying,
Interesting.
So I'm guessing that will come up as well.
Submerged bases, I always thought was still pretty much the province of science fiction.
Well, not if you can travel to stars.
Well, yeah, I thought you meant like the military.
Well, that's kind of the point that makes it like, holy smokes, this might not be the military. Is the ability to build the base that they used in the Meg.
Intriguing.
Did you see the Meg?
No.
Okay, it's terrible. You're doing all right. Stay away from the Meg.
All right.
Yeah.
Hey, if you're recommending things for me not to watch, then I'm sitting pretty.
I got a big list. Okay. I got a big list of stuff for you not to watch. Guaranteed. But William Pullen on next week. Really excited to have him. UFO for real. I don't need to tell you this, but the audience, maybe they need to hear it, is his Facebook group. And William has been on our show tons of times, and he'll be on the show tons of times more because he knows his stuff and he's open-minded and, he's got all the right questions and doesn't pretend to have any of the right answers.
Because we met him on a lonely crossroads, and we bested him in a battle of wits, and now he owes us his soul, so we just have him on the radio.
He belongs to us.
Exactly.
All right, you've been listening to Radio Wasteland. Check us out next week with our guest, William Pullen.